Welcome, dear students, to lecture 4 of Alpha Decay. Today's lecture and the next lecture after this will reveal alpha decay theory. We'll be able to explain the Geiger-Nuttall law which connected lifetime with range. Now, that was an empirical formula. Gamow and his two other scientists, in fact, three of them worked independently, uh, and came up with a theory which is known as Gamow's theory of alpha decay. And they were able to explain the Geiger-Nuttall law and using quantum mechanics, which was never done earlier. So let's hope you enjoy this presentation. The first slide here tells you the classical picture, which you're all familiar with. Okay, before I talk about the Gamow theory, I would like to quickly recap the alpha decay paradox in my subsequent lecture slides so that I'm able to put things into perspective. And before that, let's look into this classical picture here. Here, there's a ball. Now there is a hill. Now the ball will be able to roll over only if it has a kinetic energy which is equal to or greater than the potential barrier, the potential energy of the hill. If it doesn't have sufficient energy, then it will roll back. But what quantum mechanics says is even if the ball does not have energy equal to the potential height or greater than that, it is able to tunnel through and go on the other side. Now, this is the basic difference between the classical approach and the quantum approach. The quantum approach considers the particle to also have a wave. Classical mechanics considers a particle a particle. And we will see how quantum mechanics is able to explain the alpha tunneling through the potential barrier. Okay, now this diagram you're familiar with. This is the potential energy diagram. Now here this alpha particle which is trapped inside it is trapped inside. This is the potential it sees of the daughter nucleus. Remember we had uranium 238 decaying into thorium 234, and you had alpha particle emitted from it. So this alpha particle is considered in this theory that uranium 238 contains two parts. The alpha particle is a separate entity which is trapped inside the potential well of uranium of thorium 234. Together, so it's like this, that this is your thorium and this is your alpha particle. And this alpha particle is trying to come out by constantly trying to penetrate through the barrier. But let's see what happens, whether it succeeds, or even if it succeeds, how successful it is, whether it is able to succeed within one attempt, million attempts, and things like that. So this is the whole idea. So basically what is being seen is the potential barrier between this alpha particle and thorium. This is the potential barrier, and the alpha particle cannot become free because it is constantly getting repelled by the potential barrier which is there in front of it. Now, in quantum mechanics, as I said, there is a finite probability that the alpha particle might have energy less than the potential barrier, but still it is able to tunnel through. You can see this here, the alpha particle is shown to tunnel through here despite having energy less than the potential barrier. And this alpha particle in case of uranium 238 is equivalent to 4.2 MeV. This is equal to 4.2 MeV, we have seen in the previous lecture. And classical mechanics says that this is not going to happen. This is absolutely ruled out because the potential height is having greater energy than the kinetic energy processed by the tunneling alpha particle. Now, interestingly, we had seen during the paradox is this tunneling is allowed, that is alpha particle getting tunneled from left to right is allowed, but if any alpha particle coming from right into this will get repelled back. So there is entry allowed from left to right, but there is no entry from right to left. Now that was the paradox which we had discussed in the previous lecture. This again, graphics again explains the difference between the two mechanics. Electron in a classical picture would get repelled by the electric field. It will not be able to circumvent the barrier because its energy is less than the potential height. This is the height of the electric field and this is the energy it has. So it will be repelled. As long as energy, it is repelled as long as the energy of electron is below the energy level of the field. Okay. In quantum mechanics, there is a wave associated with electron. We call it as an electron wave. It approaches a barrier and unlike the classical scene, it can tunnel through and appear on the other side of the electric barrier, potential barrier. So this tunneling process is able to explain why alpha particle, despite having lower energy than the potential barrier, is able to tunnel through. But it's not so easy to tunnel through. We will see that in the subsequent lectures. Then this is again a three-dimensional. This is, you have a potential well. It's called a three-dimensional potential well, where the electron is, where the alpha particle is trapped on all sides by the potential barrier. Okay. Now this is a rectangular top potential. Now let's apply law of quantum mechanics to explain the tunneling process. This is the potential barrier here. And here this is the alpha particle coming in. This is actually a region inside the potential well. This part is the Coulomb repulsive potential and this part is where the alpha particle is free. This region is free. But in general term, let's not talk about alpha particle. Any general problem where you have a particle coming from left. Now there is no potential here. It comes here. There is a potential of barrier, potential of height V0. This is the max value V0. And energy possessed by this tunneling particle E is less than V0. Okay, energy is less than V0 and this is the region of the potential where the potential barrier is a rectangular top extending up to distance A here and then it becomes 0. So the potential is defined like this, that the wave function, this is the wave function, the potential is defined at 0 in this region. It is value V0 in this region. Okay, so x does not belong to 0 to A. So if x is either on this side, region 1, region, this is your region 2, your region 3, We are region 1. If the alpha particle is in region 1 or region 3, there is no potential. There is a potential only of constant value V0 in region 2. This also has been explained here. 0 to B is the width of the potential barrier. Region B1, V is 0. Region 2, okay, we labeled it as U, the barrier height. And region 3, the potential is 0. Okay. So moment the particle enters into region 3 here, it becomes free. This is a free region. This is also a free region, but then from region 1, when it has to go to region 2, it has to encounter a potential barrier. Okay. Now what happens? According to quantum mechanics, we talk in terms of probability. We call it as a transmission probability. The transmission probability is defined as emergent flux upon incident flux. We are not going to the derivation. We will be having a detailed derivation of transmission probability in your quantum mechanics course. And if you apply the boundary condition later on, you can prove that this derivation is there in any standard quantum mechanics book. You can take the topic of rectangular top potential, particle moving in a rectangular top potential, and you have this transmission probability. We are only interested in the final result. We are going to be using the final result. Now this result is important. This result is important. Please pay attention to this. The transmission probability is defined as minus 2b into the bracket. Bracket is under the square root 2m u minus e divided by h cross. Now I explain these terms to you, and the slide I have again explained. Okay, right, this is, so here B is your barrier width, this is your barrier width, this is your barrier width. Okay, m is the mass of the tunneling, this is the particle here. So now this is the mass of the tunneling particle. Okay, u is the height, so this is your height, potential barrier. E is the energy which this particle has. Obviously E is going to be talking about a scene where E is less than u. Okay, so we are talking about the difference here. U minus E is going to be positive. Okay, so these are the factors which determine the transmission probability. Now let's see what happens. Now remember, this is E negative, exponential, exponent is negative. So smaller the value, higher will be the value. Greater the value, because e raised to minus infinity is equal to infinity, minus infinity. So what happens is, you want the exponent, this exponent of 2b under root 2m u minus e upon h cross to be as small as possible. If it is smaller, then what happens is the transmission probability is higher. But if the exponent is going to be smaller, if the exponent is going to be very large, then the transmission probability is going to be very, very small. So what are the things which make the transmission probability easier? So if your mass less, if the difference is less, if the energy is very close to you, if the barrier width is less, then it's easy for the particle to tunnel through. But if the barrier width is large, if mass is large, the difference between the energy of the alpha of the whatever tunneling particle and the barrier height is very large, then it will become very difficult for the particle to tunnel through. This again is a diagram where there is a wave in region 1, then it is able to tunnel through region 2, and you can see that it has emerged in region 3 despite having energy lower than the potential height. This graphics again explains the same thing. This is a wave here. Now this is your particle trapped inside the potential well, which is trying to tunnel through. Now it tunnels through and then it appears on the other side. The difference here is, you'll have to be careful here. We have been talking about rectangular top, but this is not a rectangular top, but this is this this is called a variable rectangular top. This is a rectangular top, while this is a variable rectangular top. So we have derived this expression for rectangular top, and we will try to modify that expression for our actual case, which is not a rectangular top, but it's going to be a variable rectangular top. We'll see how the modification takes place. Now this is the modification in the expression. If it is a variable rectangular top, then the equation varies. You can see that the integration has come. The limits are put r. See, this is your r. I'll put this the lower limit. This is the r, and the particle is tunneling through. So when it cuts this graph, and if you project it in x-axis, this becomes your b. So the entry, when it enters into the potential, that entry point is capital R. When it leaves, the point is designated as small b. So R is the entry point, B is the exit point on the x-axis. Right. So you can see what are the changes here. You can see the integration has come in, integration limits have come in, rest of the terms are same. M, EC, EC is the barrier height here, please pay attention here. There we have written U, here we are writing EC. Whether you write U or EC is one and the same. But I have followed EC, I followed the book here, so I am just writing this value of the potential height. The maximum potential height is going to be EC. This point is going to be, let me mark this here, this point is going to be your EC. This is going to be your EC. And then as the distance travels, the value of EC goes down exponentially like this. That's why we are using the integration term. You can say that's why we used the integration term, integrated over dr, the distance whose limits are between r to small b. Okay. Now what is the value of EC? Electric potential, you know, is nothing but Coulomb's law. I think all of you know Coulomb's law. Second. Coulomb's law is Q1, Q2 divided by R, and of course you have 1 upon 4 pi epsilon 0 that we have normalized. So this R is here. Q1 is, you can see, capital Z is charge of the daughter and E is the charge of the electron. So the charge Q1 here is nothing but capital Z E, and this small z e is the charge of the tunneling particle. So that's why you have capital Z, small z, E becomes E square. So this is your value of EC. Okay. And R, as R varies, obviously EC is going to change. Now what I am doing here is, I am rearranging the term. I am rearranging the term here. I have taken Z square outside. You can see that this has been taken outside the integral. So it comes with the square root. That's why the square root is coming here. I have put everything inside the square root. This 2, if I push it to the square root, it becomes 4. So 4 into 2 becomes 8. And capital Z, small z e square upon h bar square. And this is your integration. Okay, now our job is to simplify this. If I simplify, oh, I forgot to tell you about what is G. That's very important. G is the Gamow factor here. This is called Gamow factor. Now here, if I let me go back, yeah, remember this e raised to minus something. So this term 2b into bracket under root 2mu minus e upon h cross, this is the Gamow factor. It's called a Gamow factor in honor of the scientist Gamow who proposed this theory. Now we are going to be simplifying all this. Now this equation is a standard equation whose integration is known. This is taken from a standard integration. You can check it in Google. So this integration is known. So we put that value as under root b into bracket cos inverse under root r upon capital B or small b minus under root r upon small b into bracket 1 minus under root r upon small b. This is the integration value of the integration equation which was there in the previous slide. Rest of the terms are all as it is. So this b I am taking it inside the square root, and now here this equation has been simplified to this. This is when r is much greater than b, or b is much greater than r, then this can be simplified to this. This equation reduces to this form. It's an approximation. Now what is b here? Pay attention. B, okay. B, as you know, is the exit point, projection on the x-axis. Okay. I put the limits here. This integration. After putting the integration and putting the limits, we get this. Right. Now pay attention. Now this simple mathematics, we'll just try to simplify them. Here, now B, what is B? B has been substituted as, you know that EC, E is equal to Z small z square upon R. Now if I take R as V, then this becomes nothing but kinetic energy of alpha particle. This is kinetic energy of alpha particle, capital Z, small z square upon B here. Instead of R, if I write B, now let's go back to the term. You can see that at this B, the energy is nothing but energy of the alpha particle which is tunneling out. So here I am just, instead of B, I am writing z square upon half mv square. You can see z square upon half mv square has been substituted. And then we are simplifying all this. The equation reduces. You can check, it's simple mathematics. You don't have to be worried. And mind you, this derivation is not in your book, and it has been directly given. So you can make a special note of this derivation. Then I open up the bracket, and then I get this. You can check these terms. I am not going to this detail. Again here B has been replaced by z square. You can see. So here, let me write this again. Some of you are not followed. This is B. This is capital Z. This is small z. This is E square upon K alpha. K alpha is nothing but half M B alpha square, or you can write E square, whatever. So instead of B, I can write this. So here, instead of this B, it has been written like this. You can see this term has been substituted. This has been substituted. And then simplified. So you get this expression. Okay. And then if I further simplify, I get the Gamow factor G as this. Now this equation is the Gamow factor for particle tunneling through a barrier. This is still a general expression. This is just a general expression. This is applicable for any particle tunneling through a barrier. Okay, this is a general expression. Now from this transmission, from this Gamow factor, Let's calculate the decay constant. Decay constant is nothing but the transmission probability multiplied by number of attempts per second. Now this is very important. So a particle will decay, or a nuclei will decay only if it has sufficiently high transmission probability, and provided it puts number of attempts. This is very important. It's a product of this. I might have a great transmission probability, a very high transmission probability, but I don't put an effort, then I'll not be successful. Same is true in life. I'm very talented, but I don't work hard, then I will not get success. The other way around is I try very hard, number of attempts per second. Even if I have less transmission probability, I can have success. So, the students, the alpha particle which is inside the well, for it to come out, it is dependent on two factors: how many attempts it makes per second, and what is the transmission probability according to Gamow theory. It's the product of this two. You will be surprised, and we will discuss this in the next lecture, that it puts in a very, very high number of attempts. Something which is of the order of 10 to 20 attempts per second. That much attempt alpha particle is making to come out, but it doesn't succeed every time, because you know the half-life of uranium is of the order of 10 raised to 8 years. 10 raised to 8 years. But it keeps on trying, keeps on trying, keeps on trying, and at times it gets success and it's able to tunnel out, and the uranium nucleus is then converted into the daughter, that is the thorium in this case. Okay. We'll do some calculation, don't worry. We'll calculate all these decay constants and all that. So you will have a fair idea of what is happening. Now this again I have simplified. Now what I have put here is small z. Now we are going to specifically to alpha particle here. You can see this. I have put, this is the expression. In this small z has been taken as 2. So 2 2s are 4. So that's why this 4 comes in. Yeah. Note that the charge of alpha particle is 2. And this is V by R. And this is exponential, and this has been simplified. Now this is the simplified expression for lambda alpha. Now you'll be wondering, what am I doing with lambda alpha? I am doing this with lambda alpha because finally I want to calculate the half-life. Now in order to calculate the half-life, I have to use this equation which I used in your 12th standard, 0.693 divided by lambda. So if I know lambda, I know half-life. Now what I will be doing is I will be measuring the half-life using the theory, and if it matches with the practical experiment, then my theory is spot on, otherwise my theory is wrong. This is what we are going to be doing in the subsequent lectures. And dear students, this lambda which we have derived theoretically in quantum mechanics is also what has been proposed by the Geiger-Newton law. So we can plot a graph for radioactive series using this, and you can plot a graph using this and this expression, and you find that there is match. There is a match between the two, which means the theory is spot on. The greatest, perhaps the greatest theory, the most fascinating theory I should say, which you must have studied or you will be studying in your TY course, is Gamow's alpha decay theory. A brilliant application of quantum mechanics to prove that alpha particle can tunnel through the barrier despite having energy lower than the potential height. Thank you. We'll take it forward from here. Revise this lecture very, very well. Yes. And if you have got any doubt, you can post it in the Moodle.